What is going on, guys? We are back. In today's video, we have a very highly anticipated sequel to the original How to Read a Chart Part 1 video. So without further ado, this is How to Read a Chart Part 2. Now, before we get into the chart itself, there is one key concept that in order to properly read a chart, you do need to understand, and that is going to be the time frames. So time frames, what are they?
You know about graphs? Charts? Idiot.
Now guys, I know if you are new, this can be a relatively intimidating topic. There's just a bunch of time frames at the bottom of your chart or whatever screen you're looking at, and you really don't know what they mean. I totally get it. I was there at one point. In this video, just the easiest way to remember it is that each time frame that we talk about, so for example, if we talk about the monthly chart, that means that each candle on that chart is going to account for 1 month's worth of trading. Just like if I talk about the weekly chart, each candle on that chart is going to account for 1 week's worth of trading. And if we move on to the daily chart, each candle is going to account for 1 day's worth of trading, and so on and so forth. I know it can be intimidating if you are really new to the whole thing. I get it, but that is really truly the easiest way to approach it, and it's going to make this whole thing a lot easier. So today, the 5 main time frames that I'm going to talk about are going to be the monthly, weekly, and daily chart time frames. These are the ones you need to worry about. Let's get into it. All right, guys, one of the most commonly asked questions I get is what do I use to look at charts? I'm using the Webull desktop app. Webull is a brokerage. It is one of the best in my opinion. The user interface is clean, simple, and easy to use, and fantastic if you're just starting out. They didn't sponsor this video. If you want to sign up and download Webull, there's a link in the description and you'll get 3 free stocks. Shameless plug. The first thing that we want to do when learning how to identify key support and resistance levels and chart the stock out as a whole is look at the monthly chart. As I mentioned before, these time frames are crucial to understand, but the first thing that we want to do is work our way back. So we want to start out understanding the stock from its birthplace. Stocks are just like people. They have personalities, and to really trade it successfully and understand, okay, this is where I want to buy, this is where I want to sell, you need to understand the stock from its inception because all of those levels are going to matter. All right, guys, so we're going to be looking at the monthly chart on AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. This stock has been trading now for, I believe, just a little bit over 30 years. Now almost 40 years. It's been trading since 1980. That is a very long time, right? We're talking about 40 years, 42 years, I believe. That is a crazy amount of time for a stock to be trading. Now, the first 2 levels that we want to mark out on AMD are going to be our all-time high and our all-time low. So that is going to be the all-time low is the lowest the stock has ever been. That is a very strong point of support. And the all-time high is going to be the highest the stock has ever been, obviously, and the place where we're going to have max resistance, right? That's the highest someone has ever paid for the stock itself. So looking at AMD, we have to pay attention to all the way back to when it first IPO'd, right? IPO'd at the $2.24 price point. If we look at the chart all the way zoomed out, right, we can see that our all-time low is back here in 2015, and that is going to be at the $1.61 level. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to the top of the chart here and click on drawings, and then you're going to go over to horizontal line, and you're going to make a line of support right here at that $1.61 price point. Now, what we are doing by doing that is we're identifying, okay, this is our all-time low. This is the lowest the stock has ever been.
Where is this, SpongeBob?
Rock bottom.
So we want to make a level right there at $1.61. Now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to mark out our all-time high. So what we're going to do is come over, create another level, and come up to this 164.46 level. Now AMD more recently made that all-time high at 164. That's the highest the stock has ever been. Now the reason that I'm looking at the monthly is I do also want to chart out any other major points of resistance on the chart itself. So as we can tell, back in the early 2000s, right? This is going to be kind of the .com bubble era, right? Now, obviously, AMD makes chips, which are extremely hot right now.
That Hansel's so hot right now.
And they kind of fit into that technology sector. In 2000, technology was going crazy. And we made a new all-time high on AMD here at 48.50. Now, the reason that I'm marking this level is, as you can tell, this area was actually a pretty key area of resistance as we made that high once in 2000. And then again, we touched that area of resistance in 2006, right at that $45 level. So you know that this area between 45 and 48 is going to be a very strong area of resistance going forward. And the reason being is because we hit that area twice. So we quote unquote double topped at that $45 to $48 area. Even though it was 6 years apart and almost 20 years ago now, it's still very, very important because as you'll see, this is going to be an area of resistance that we encountered more recently. So as we continue to look at the monthly, guys, you can see that we had some resistance at this $48 to $49 price area. That's evident because we have these large selling wicks on the monthly. That means that there was a lot of selling present on AMD at that time. That actually ends up lining up perfectly with the COVID era, right? That is when the coronavirus first kind of presented itself. So when we saw that, right, in 2019 into 2020, we saw that pullback from the $49 area, and we found support at this area right here at this $40 to $41 area, right? So we're going to go ahead and mark that out, right? Because we see these wicks down. So if we zoom out a little bit and then come in, we see that we found support in the $36 to $37 range. That was a key area of support on AMD. So we want to mark out that level as well. Now, as we can see on the monthly chart, guys, once we broke $49 on the monthly, you can see AMD had a massive move up. So why are we seeing a big move up over that level? Well, that's because when we have major resistance from 10, 15 years ago, right? So 2000, 2006, in 2020, breaking that resistance is a huge deal. That's a multi-decade breakout. You hear people talk about multi-year and, maybe a monthly breakout, right? That's a monthly breakout on the chart, but it's really a 2-decade breakout because you're talking about something that hasn't happened. We haven't been at this area, this $48 area since 2000, right? That's a very long time. So we saw a major breakout over that level. And as you can tell, we went all the way up to this $93 to $99 area. Now this is going to come into play later, but we want to mark out that high that we got to after we broke out, right? Which was right at that $99 price point. So we are encountering some psychological resistance, right? We had never been that high before. And when that happens, traders really don't know where the stock's going to go next because it's never been here before. Just like a person, it's never had this personality before. We don't know how it's going to act. So we use psychological levels at that point. Some use fib extensions. For me, those psychological levels usually tend to come into play. So the $50, $100, and $200 price points tend to be major psychological levels. And look where we found resistance, right at that $100 level. So we want to go ahead and mark that $99 area as an area of resistance. Now, when AMD did pull back, it found support at the $74 level. The reason we found support there is because that was the top of this initial breakout monthly candle. And so we want to make an area of support there at that $72 to $73 area. Now, that is going to be important because that's going to kind of be referenced as our most recent low. Now that we've marked out our key levels on the monthly, let's go ahead over and move to the weekly and chart out some more recent levels on AMD. All right, guys, now we are going to be looking at the weekly chart on AMD. This is going to be a little bit of a closer view. We're not going to be looking at decades back. We're going to be focusing pretty much on the last 52 weeks, right? So this is going all the way back to May of 2020. So you could say, okay, we're going to look at, the last 60 to 70 weeks of trading on AMD and where have our key support and resistance levels been.
Where they at, though?
Well, we know that once we couldn't break that $99 level, AMD clearly found support at this $72 level. Now, the thing that I love about AMD, I trade it all the time and I know it like the back of my hand, is that it has very clean levels. As you can tell, we have clear support here at the $72 level, right? At this price point, we have always seen a lot of buyers come in going back to July of 2020. Now, on AMD, when we finally did break out over that $99 level and break that 100 psych level, we saw a major breakout to the upside. As you can see here on AMD on the weekly chart, we broke out here this week, and then the next weekly candle, we saw a move all the way up to the 123 level. So we want to make a point of resistance right there because that is our new all-time high. Remember, we're working from back to front, so we're working from a long time ago to the most recent points, right? That's how you want to chart a stock out, is learn its personality from back to front. So as you can tell, once AMD had resistance there, it came back down. And this is an important concept to understand if you don't know it already. It is old resistance turning into new support. That is a bullish indicator on a stock, even on these larger time frames. And seeing AMD turn this $99 level after it rejected 123, it came back down and look what it did. It turned 100 into support. That is a very bullish sign that it is holding its previous all-time high as support. That means there's buyers present at that old area of resistance, and that can now be classified as support. Traders want to see retests happen. That gives them additional confirmation from a psychological psychological standpoint, which is what the chart is, it's just a drawing of people's psychological habits. We like to buy AMD here because we feel it's undervalued, so at 99, and people like to sell it at 120 plus, right? Because they feel it's overvalued. Now, AMD came back down and retested. I mentioned that retest is crucial because once we retested, look what happened. We came all the way back up, tested our new all-time high, which is at that 123 level, and then look what happens. Once we break through 123, we see a major breakout to the upside. So had you waited for AMD to come back down and retest 100, even if you had just bought common shares of AMD, you could have had a 60% gain by buying at that retest of 100 and riding it all the way up to 64. That's a 64% gain on the stock alone, just the commons. So looking at this, we see what happens when we break a prior all-time high. The stock enters price discovery mode. This is where it has never been before, right? So AMD obviously found resistance at this 164 level more recently. And to look at the really recent price action, let's go ahead and look at the daily, as that's going to give us an even more zoomed in view. Now guys, this is going to be the daily time frame, and this is going to be the kind of last time frame that we look at for identifying broader term key levels on the stock itself. So on AMD, as we saw on the weekly, we saw that all-time high of 164. And after that price point, we now know that we have support at 123 because that was our prior all-time high back here in August of 2021. So when AMD does finally come back down, it tried to create support at that 123 level multiple times. However, once it finally failed that 123 level, that was a little bit of a bearish indicator on the stock, because what that is its old support now turning into resistance once again. And that is not bullish for a stock. That is actually the opposite of bullish. That kind of indicates a broader term bearish pattern. So we know that AMD broke down through 123, and look where it found support at this $99 price point. Now, that $99 price point, even up to the last couple of weeks, has acted as a major area of support. And the reason that is because we had a major breakout point there, and it's a major psychological level of, okay, AMD is over 100. If AMD was to crack this $99 level, we would probably see a much larger move to the downside, more than likely into the $72 area. So guys, like I mentioned, in order to be able to trade these names, you need to understand their personality, and you need to be able to read them like a book from back to front. So understanding their personality from inception is always really, really healthy to do. You need to go and do this on multiple charts and practice, practice, practice. That's how I got good at reading charts, was by just practicing and then observing, okay, hey, I think there's support here or resistance here. AMD is a very clean chart. I recommend some names like this: Apple, Tesla, AMD, because they have very clean and easy to identify support and resistance levels. All right, guys, hopefully today's video really helped you kind of understand the basics of how to read a chart on larger time frames, such as the weekly, the monthly, and the daily. This is going to give you an awesome leg up in learning how to chart stocks on closer time frames. But like I mentioned, this is one of the best methods to learn how to chart a stock and understand key support and resistance levels. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel a ton. And let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos like this. Take it easy, guys. Peace.